Hello and welcome to MSP Voice Webinar Series. This is number 7. Today I am joined by Alex Markov, who actually has an MSP. It's called Red Key Solutions. But as part of that, he's also kind of spun up this other company called Strategy Overview. And Alex is going to take us through his vCIO Kickstart. So looking forward to it. Alex, welcome.
Hey, thanks. Great to be with you, Doug.
Glad to have you. So this vCIO stuff, I hear a lot about it.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of the future of a lot of MSPs. It's a big future of our MSP. Um,
Okay.
we really think that every MSP should be doing strategic planning and in a structured way, right? MSPs have done strategic planning forever, just
Yeah.
advising clients, what needs to be upgraded, helping solve solutions. But like everything in the MSP world, if you don't have a solid process for it, it's not reliable, it's not consistent. So we've done a lot of work to put together a nice solid process, and we're sharing it with the community.
Okay, and now it's not just process, but it's also software, correct?
Correct. Yeah. So we built an app for ourselves. We used to run it all with spreadsheets, and it originally started on a whiteboard.
Okay.
When we were switching to managed services, we realized we need to standardize everything across clients,
Hmm.
but how do we actually do that? So we had a big whiteboard in the office, and we made it the stack board. And we started using that and standardizing all clients as best as we can, and then eventually became a spreadsheet. So we ran
Okay.
that for like 6, 7 years, and then it took too long to do, so we built an app for ourselves. And then we started bringing it to the market. That's 14 months ago, and
Hmm.
in about 14, 15 months of on the market with no real advertising, just kind of spreading the word and things like that. We're over 1,300 MSPs now on the platform worldwide.
Wow, that's great.
hmm Yeah, so it's
Okay.
come a long way.
So looking forward to hearing more about it.
All right, excellent. Um, so I guess the topic of this, I put together a little slide deck for us about how an MSP could start a vCIO process, and just some foundational information about what a vCIO process is. And so essentially, a vCIO process is grounded in the theory that MSPs are CIOs, right? That's really what we are. We're organizing, the MSP owners originally are kind of like the CIOs of the clients, and then we create teams underneath that of, some people call it account managers, but in our MSP we call them vCIOs. But I really try to tell people, and our vCIOs, think like CIOs. So imagine you walk into a company and you get hired. What would you do? You would find out, what the business goals are, understand, the company, and that's really the value that I think MSPs provide. And so, what are the responsibilities of a CIO? Just to kind of recap that. So, a CIO would understand the business goals and overall the needs of the organization. They would create and guide a technology strategy and a plan, right? And they pick a technology stack. They help organize and manage the IT team. They organize and manage all the IT vendors, their escalations for sensitive issues. They create the yearly budget, and then they provide regular IT updates to the executive team. So that's like what a
Yeah.
traditional CIO is, right?
Yeah, and that's typically what most MSPs do, right?
Yeah, exactly,
If they're
right?
good ones, yeah. So it kind of makes sense because a lot of the companies that the MSPs are supporting, they don't have a CIO. They probably don't
Mm-hmm.
even have an IT department.
Yep.
So having someone who bears that responsibility for them is why they hired you.
Yeah, and what, to be honest, like our best relationship nowadays, our best clients now are ones that have CIOs and
Oh, okay.
have IT departments, because what we find is a lot of these local IT departments, first of all, they're recreating the wheel any single time they
Mhm.
want to do anything, right? Because
Yeah.
they're only doing it for their company, and they're definitely not going to more conferences than traditional MSPs are doing, right? MSPs are on conference circuits to the moon,
Yeah.
right? And they're definitely not as in touch with all the new technology. So we're bringing a lot of knowledge and information that we learn from all of our clients to everyone. So the CIOs that we usually take on a client, and if they have a CIO, they're in over their head so badly. You know, their stack is a mess. You know, and
Yeah.
they've used a bundle of different vendors to try to piece things together, and they're just struggling and in a lot of pain.
Yeah, so this kind of goes to a trend that I've heard mentioned several times over the last couple of months of essentially co-managed IT,
Yep.
where the company has an IT department and they bring in an MSP to help offload some of the responsibilities so they can focus on more key initiatives and projects than having to essentially run the IT business.
Yeah, and then what happens if the CIO internally decides to leave? Like we had a situation where we got called in a panic by a big pharmaceutical company, and their CIO just left. It got poached by another pharmaceutical company, right? And then what happens? They give a 2-week notice, or let's say 4-week notice for some of the bigger professionals, but somebody needs to pick that up. So I think the bigger trend in the world of business is every company should have a managed IT provider standing with them, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a good business opportunity too, right? If you're an MSP and all you do is go after small business that doesn't have IT, maybe you've hit the saturation point in your market. Now you can actually look at, hey, let's expand our reach and actually start approaching companies that have IT that may need some of these services that we can provide.
Yeah, and now we're definitely glossing over the fact that this is critical to maintain small accounts as well, right?
Yeah.
Like it's very difficult to maintain small accounts without a structured vCIO process. Call it what you want, right? A strategic planning process. I mean, you can, but as you scale, you start missing things, right? So you definitely need a consistent process. So this kind of takes me to what a vCIO is. So yeah, most companies don't justify a full-time CIO, right? And then companies with internal IT don't have all the experience, tools, resources, and the team to run IT the right way, right? So, we invest, I don't know how many tools we have, like 30 something tools in our MSP, and they're all integrated. Small IT departments don't have that.
Yeah.
It's just impossible. They would need a full-time person just for tools. We almost have 2 full-time people, and we have stack advisors and other companies that we work with just to maintain all of our tools.
Okay.
So, and then the solution really is to hire an MSP to act as a virtual CIO or to supplement an existing CIO or internal IT team. So that's really what a vCIO is, in my kind of assessment.
Okay.
And then, so every MSP really should be doing strategic planning because it has the following impacts. The first number one impact is your team is happier because no one likes to work on crappy technology. It's just like the worst, right? Everyone that's listening and just anyone in the world gets that like rage inside when technology doesn't work right and it's just clunky. So a strategic planning process helps remove crappy technology through client networks. That's like one of the most important things, which makes your team happy. They're less frustrated, right? And I think that one of the most important things in every MSP, besides the tools and the clients, like more important than the tools and the clients, is the people, right? And I know finding good people is really hard, and everyone talks about, where do you get great people? Well, you can get the great people, but if they're coming into an environment that's a mess and their days are going to be riddled with frustrations, then you may not keep them long enough for them to really be great, right? So I think that's one of the biggest important reasons to have a strategic planning process with your clients. And then it makes your clients much more happier and more engaged, right? Where if they're paying MSPs just to, do patches that they don't see and keep things running, and, if the internet fails, they call, like the value, they don't realize how much goes into that, how much how much work we put in to keep everything up.
Yeah, it's like, why am I paying you? I never see you, right?
Yeah,
And
so
what people realize is that's a good thing, right?
yeah, that's exactly it. But a strategic process adds that extra layer of engagement. And in our app and in our process, we cover about 100 different points of strategic health with clients. So over time, if they listen to us, every client that's listened to us has like grown pretty well, right?
Okay.
Every single one. We have like a run-on joke that we almost put a future build-out date when we sign a new client. We'll say like in 3 years they're gonna move, and it's like clockwork. We just clients are constantly moving and upgrading, which is great for everyone, right? If they're more
Yeah.
successful, so that brings me to my next point. If they're more successful, if clients add users, MSPs make more money. It's
Yep.
like free MRR, right? And they're not hiring people unless they have the money to fund it and they're growing, right? So, uh, we keep a metric in our MSP to see how many people get hired versus how many get terminated.
Mhm.
And it's always good to see that there's more hires and terminations, right?
Yeah.
Because that means our clients are thriving. And then standardized networks are far easier to support, which is another big deal. Like, MSPs that come from the break fix world, or if you're taking on clients and you're picking up all types of networks, it's impossible to support them reliably, consistently without standardizing
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, and I understand that, but the other thing too is how quickly can you transition a new client to your stack? I mean, there has to be a transition period, or do you
Yes.
just force it down their throats?
So the high OML move is to upgrade and do a full rip and replace, right? But that's not always possible.
Hmm.
We've come into a situation where, they just get 5 new Palo Alto firewalls. Like, what do you do with that, right?
Yeah.
We could take them. They're not going to pay twice, right?
Yeah.
Um, certain stuff, if they get a brand new stack, and if it's some decent alignment, we'll still take it. But ideally, rip and replace as much as humanly possible. But often, if
Hmm.
they're especially a complicated client, you may not be able to rip and replace within the first month. You have to onboard them,
Yeah.
understand what they're doing,
Yeah.
even if you do a really good assessment.
Yeah.
And we partner with Great American Financial, so shout out to Great American Financial. So we bundle a bunch of stuff as much as possible in one big refresh.
Okay.
And then just put it on a monthly. So firewall, switches, wireless, clean up the racks,
Hmm.
a backup device. And once those things are in place, then dealing with the servers wherever it goes, is it's a that's the next move.
Okay.
Yep, and a good vCIO process is also a project and product sales engine. If you do it correctly and you meet with clients on a consistent basis, you start making the projects and products regular. So like years and years ago, we would have ebbs and flows, right? So like sometimes we would be overloaded with projects, and then other times we would be sitting around looking at our opportunities board, and it would be, a bunch of like scraggly little soft opportunities, right?
Yeah.
And then you're just chasing kind of ghosts. So now, over the last bunch of years, that we've really put a lot of emphasis in the strategic planning process and making that regular with every client, it's just a constant stream of projects and product sales, which is nice, right? It's like it makes it much more regular, and there's still times when we get overloaded,
Yeah.
but we're never underloaded, which is really a good thing.
Yeah. And the other thing, you talk about engagement, right? Engage with the clients. And as part of this process, what kind of projects they're probably going to have coming up,
Yep.
right? Because you have that engagement, and you have that, like you said, you're reviewing the strategy with them. So it just makes it, like you said, it's easier to plan because now you know that, hey, this company is going to do this project probably within the next 6 months. So you
And
can have it on your radar and then, get ready to pull the trigger when they're ready.
yeah, you and your team could start thinking about it, start talking, and you make the right
Hmm.
moves to prepare for that, and then you plant the seed to the clients that you need to start moving on it, early. Still doesn't always work, right? Because clients are, they procrastinate. But the more that you plant the seeds, the better, right? So, and the other big point of a really successful vCIO process is it just dramatically decreases the liability for the MSP. And I'm not even just talking about like legal liability. I'm talking about just, the relationship capital, right?
Hmm.
If you don't tell your clients that there's certain things that are on the verge of dying and it just dies and takes them down, they're not going to be happy. They're not going to be happy either way.
Yeah.
You know, but they will definitely be less salty about it if you've told them and they knew about it for multiple quarters and, you know, ahead of time.
As long as you don't go back to them and say, I told you so.
Yeah. I mean, so whenever we do a strategic meeting, we'll send them the PDF that our app generates, that gives them, you know, their total risks. So then from there, then it's on the client to budget and remediate. You know, we're not magicians. We can't just fix everything. We need budgets to do it. But at the very least, we identify it, and then for like compliance industries, you have to identify risk. You have to do strategic planning, because if you don't, then that's a real liability for the MSP. You know, your errors and omissions can get slammed with a big suit, right? And then also increase profitability for the MSP. Like, if I can't imagine running a profitable MSP to scale without strategic planning. It's just not possible. Because if every client's like haphazard and you're only doing strategic planning with the clients that are calling you and, you know, that are loud, then you just have all these risks that are bubbling around, right? And so you have to do all the best MSPs that actually are doing it to scale do strategic planning. So that's like one of their secrets.
Okay.
And then future-proofing the MSP role with clients. So everyone constantly gets bombarded with the thoughts of, you know, that the industry's changing, commoditization, cloud, Microsoft's starting to do managed services, all this other stuff. But to be honest, I think that MSPs are going to be more valuable to clients in the future, because the more that everything becomes digital, like in our MSP, for example, like I'm an engineer and I can log into Office 365, I can, you know, set things up, but I don't have the time to do any of that. I submit tickets.
Yeah.
You know, like, and it's far better for a level one or somebody at a different burden rate than me to do stuff, right? So even me as an engineer, at this point, when I need something done, I just write it up in a ticket and I submit it.
Yeah.
Because I don't have the time.
Yep.
Right? So anyone that thinks that MSP's roles is going to be diminished, you know, maybe for the little onesie twosie clients that, you know, have like a millennial owner and they're like a flower shop and they could just set up their own Dropbox and, you know, their G Suite and just run on that, right? But though you're not making money off those clients anyway.
Yeah.
You know, and those clients are eventually going to get crushed by the mid-market guys that are running around gobbling up every industry. All right, that's just some of my thoughts. I don't know.
Okay.
So yeah, just future-proofing your role with clients and you know, having a strategic planning process. It's the same thing as like every MSP needs to think about like a next generation security stack, a next generation security planning process. Every MSP needs to be strategically involved with clients. So those are like the two main future pieces of MSP world. So that's kind of the, let me see. My slideshow got distracted. So, so the qualities of a vCIO that we found is they have to be technical minded. So what we've learned is they're not a account manager that's just for sales, right? They have to be a technically minded person, like what typical MSP owners are. They're engineers that broke out of either corporate America or just were engineers, you know, from childhood and just loved tech and somehow got into it. They have to understand business concepts like payroll, OPEX versus CAPEX, P&L, balance sheet, burden rates, right? Strategy, planning, goals. So if you do have a project engineer that is good with clients and you want to convert him to a vCIO, you got to invest in those concepts, because a lot of engineers, like payroll and OPEX, CAPEX, all these like concepts and burden rates are way over their head. Right?
Yeah.
But that's how owners, that's how we can communicate so well with owners, like with clients, because we understand the value of payroll, that if that goes down, you know, so their people can't do things, then it's not just, you know, frustration, they're physically losing money.
Yeah.
Because they're not paying their people less.
Employees are happy. Yeah, and their employees are unhappy because they're not getting paid.
Yeah. Well, they're not. Well, if their technology is just like slow, they're not paying them less, right?
Yeah.
They're not saying that, oh, this $60,000 a year person, well, you weren't as effective this month. You're just only getting a 40,000, right? Because
Yeah.
our IT company screwed up your network, so they're still paying them the same amount of money. They're
Yeah.
just getting less out of their people. So they need to have strong communication skills with C-levels. So typically we find good project people. They're already doing that. They're already communicating things and laying things out like project engineers, and talking to, the owners and things like that. So that's key. And we've learned that, friendly, personable, and positive vCIOs are far more effective. I mean,
Than the angry ones?
yeah, I mean, there's definitely some angry, grumpy, vCIOs walking around doing just fine, right? But if you had to choose, I would definitely pick a friendly, personable vCIO because they have to
Yeah.
communicate, sensitive things and, get people to spend money and when they have to invest in things, right? They have to have a client advocate mind frame, which is key because if they don't, then they're not gonna, tell people the right things, and you don't want them upselling things that are not necessary, right?
Yeah.
That's another really important factor. You want them to really just be focusing on helping the client grow, and being on their side. And that's how you really build a lot of trust. Then they have to be comfortable having sales and financial conversations. And that's the same thing what a CIO would do. If you're a CIO at a large organization, you're coming up with a plan and telling them that you need X amount of budget for it, but you're still justifying that plan to the other C-level suite and to the CFO, right? So what's different between a CIO justifying a strategic plan to the CFO or a vCIO creating a strategic plan? It's the same thing.
Yeah.
So yes, they have to be technically minded, but they also have to understand financial conversations and be able to have them, not in a sales level, like they're not selling, they're just creating a plan and just saying, what we would think in our professional experience. Yep, and then the past experiences that we found are good is project engineers, level 3 engineers, IT directors, or CIOs that got bored at existing organizations and they just don't want to work on just one company.
Yeah. So just, real quick, I'm assuming you have a couple of vCIOs on staff at your MSP. And now how many customers can they vCIO for?
Yeah, so it's not about customers or endpoints. What we found is by MRR, because that's kind of the good metric of because that normalizes things, right?
Okay.
So anywhere between 80 to 100K MRR per vCIO is kind of the ballpark. And then when I say MRR, I'm actually just talking about managed services revenue, not the subscriptions, not like the third-party cloud, Office 365, Datto, all of that stuff. So like one vCIO can manage a book of business of about 80K, let's just say. As they get better, and depending on how many clients, they can do maybe a little bit more, maybe 100, 120. But at like 100, 120, your vCIO is going to start getting a little ragged and missing certain things. So that's kind of like our, unqualified, unscientific math. Like,
well, if it works for you, then it's not really all that unscientific, right? You have experience doing this. So.
Yeah, and we talked to a bunch of, a good chunk of the top 500 use our app. And we have a Slack channel. I've communicated at this point with hundreds and hundreds of vCIOs at other companies and owners, and that math pretty much holds across the industry. Yep. So the final quality of a really successful vCIO is they have to understand the MSP stack and all the solutions the MSP brings, right? So you can't just bring somebody in from outside and just say, okay, here's our services, go, right? because
here's how the MSP.
yeah, do MSP like this. Like, so either they have to come from an MSP or you have to put some serious training into them. That's why it's good for a project engineer to come out, because you don't want them fumbling around and saying to a client, yeah, we could do it like this, and then a week later coming back and saying, actually, we can't do it like this, we have to do it like this, right? And so they have to understand what your MSP does, your stack, your solutions, your capabilities, timelines, things like that. So that's key.
Okay.
In the whole process. So how to actually kickstart a vCIO process. So first and foremost, people have to pick a champion, somebody in their MSP that's going to be the vCIO. So if they're an MSP that currently doesn't have that role, and it's the owner-led vCIO, and they want to break out and add additional, muscle to their strategic planning, you have to have somebody in the MSP that's going to be dedicated, even if they're fractional, right? Even if they're like 50% vCIO, you have to pick somebody and make that a quarterly goal. And then each quarter, you have to identify additional goals for them to ramp up. And we run our company on EOS, which is a goal setting framework. It's that book Traction. I don't know if you ever heard of Traction. Yep. So in that process, you have to set goals, and your vCIO should have goals. Then pick a tool. So in the same way as you would be crazy to run an MSP just handling tickets through Outlook, right? And without a ticketing system, any MSP that currently is not using a tool, and there's a number of tools on the market, like we make one. I think ours is one of the best, but
of course.
Yeah. I mean, we built it for ourselves, so you definitely need a tool. So whether it's our tool or any other tool, you have to have a tool. Because doing it manually, doing it in a spreadsheet, doing it, and without a tool is just inefficient. And then the way that we got into it is we ranked all of our clients A, B, and C.
Okay.
So A are the ones that really understand technology, their strategic planning, been asking you for budgets. They have been, trying to do proactive things. And when you're not proactive with them, they get mad at you, right? Those are like your best clients. Those are the ones you have to do first. Bs are the ones that need technology. They're the ones that can't function without technology, but they're still a little reactive, and it's a little bit of a necessary evil to them. They still may not be as proactive planning, right? And Cs are the ones that you really should not work with and fire eventually. It's pretty much it, right? Like at any point, all MSPs should have a C bucket of clients that are not aligned with their stack. They don't appreciate technology. They don't appreciate the MSP's hard work. Those are the ones. And I've yet to talk to an MSP that's like, we have no Cs, right?
Yeah.
Everyone is still dragging along some Cs from their early days.
Yeah, and they all know who they are too.
Yeah. So you have that list of Cs, right? You should still do strategic planning for them, because for the Cs, it helps limit your risk and exposure to bad tech. But you definitely should do them last. Focus on the A's first. So once you have your spreadsheet of all your A's, B's, and C's, and it's not just by revenue, right? It's just there's like, how good of a fit are they as clients, right? Revenue does play into account. If you have like a $500 a month A, and if they're never going to grow, they're not really an A. But they have to be good people, or not terrible people at least. Not ruin your day, not ruin your engineers' days. It's a common theme in our companies. Like if somebody's ruining somebody's day, they get on the C list. We call it the core values test. So if any client kind of disrespects our core values, or just like if I was walking through the knock and I heard one of our engineers talk to a client or a vendor a certain way, what would I say? So any client that kind of jeopardizes that, we flag them as somebody that offended our core values test. It's just our way to try to identify who the good people are and who the bad people are. Because as you scale, add users and clients, it gets more challenging, especially if you're not the ones working with them, right? And you may have vocal engineers, but it's still better to have some kind of process around it. But so I'm kind of digressing. So yeah, move your A's in the first quarter into whatever tool you're using. All new clients come into the tool, into a vCIO process day one. So even if you have like a basic vCIO process, you should definitely have it. And all new clients come in. Then the second quarter, move the rest of the A's. The third quarter, move all the B's, and the fourth quarter, move the C's. So that's kind of a rule of thumb. Some people have done it faster, some people have done it slower. But you should definitely have, if you're doing a managed agreement for somebody, they should be in some kind of strategic process, even if it's yearly. So for smaller clients, we're doing it yearly. And the math kind of goes, for every $1,000 that they pay per month is how many times a year you need to meet with them. So if they pay $1,000 a month, you meet with them once a year. If they pay $4,000 a month, you meet with them quarterly. And if any clients are paying over $12,000 a month, you have to meet with them monthly.
Got it.
And then if clients are paying like more than that, you should have a vCIO touch with them weekly, just on a quick regular go-to meeting, just to regroup and say, hey, how are you? Just like a weekly call. So then automating strategy meetings, that's huge. Like before we did that, we were never able to properly be regular with every client.
Yeah.
So
I'm guessing that's the vCIO tool that helps you do that.
So in our tool, we have a knowledge base which teaches you how to do that, but you can figure it out yourself. Like we use ConnectWise and we use ticket templates and Calendly. So with a combination between ConnectWise, ticket templates, we automatically send emails out. So our tool doesn't actually do that. We just kind of teach people to do that. Maybe down the road we can do that, but I mean, that's kind of recreating the wheel because we're going to need to create a ticket anyway.
Okay. Yeah, I guess you were talking about the scheduling. I was thinking about what you said, that what your software outputs is kind of the automation, but you're talking about automating the scheduling.
Yeah, I'm specifically talking about scheduling because here's the deal. Like if you have, let's say 25 clients under management, just to use a rough number, and you want to meet with them quarterly, it's 100 meetings a year.
Yeah.
Right. From a logistical perspective, just to schedule 100 meetings a year with some of your clients' busiest people and some of your busiest people, just logistically speaking, you could have a full-time employee that's like a sales admin that's just pounding the phone just to schedule and line up and coordinate 100 meetings a year.
Yeah.
Right. So like we automate it during onboarding, that we put them on a schedule that every quarter, if they're a quarterly client, they get a ticket and an email that gets generated that says, here's your link to pick your time for your next strategy meeting. So I would say 90% of our meetings are scheduled automatically by the client with 0 interactions from the vCIOs.
Okay.
Before we did that, it was like, it was like herding cats. And you're playing whack-a-mole. You're trying to chase these clients that are going through a move, and these clients that are going through hyper growth, and then you realize that a quarter of your clients, you haven't met with them for 2 years.
Yeah.
And that's just no bueno for anybody, right? And then we run our vCIO process on ourselves. So our vCIOs, they meet with our MSP owners, like meet with me. They schedule with me. So I get a ticket every quarter to schedule a technology strategy meeting for myself, right?
Okay.
And I come to the room and the vCIO gives me the report, a strategy overview on our MSP, and he basically lays out the entire roadmap. And I ask questions like a client would. And to be honest, like that process has made our MSP and our operation so much stronger. because each quarter we get to decide what things we need to upgrade, because MSPs are no different than our clients, like as a business.
Yeah.
Right? Like we're selling tech and we're selling solutions, and our clients are providing healthcare or manufacturing widgets. It's the same thing. We all have computers, payroll, email systems, servers. So we run the process on yourself is huge.
Okay.
And then just start. So anyone that's on listening to this podcast or is just doesn't have any type of structured process, just start it and then just refine it each month. And every single time you do a strategic meeting with the client, update the protocol, update the agenda. And that's the only way that we found that, you have to just start doing it. You can't wait until like it's perfect and, So that's the steps to start a vCIO process.
Okay.
So strategy overview, or strategy evolved is our slogan. We want to evolve people's strategy. And here's information about our app. And you can get a free account. So we have a freemium model. You can use it on 3 clients for free. I'll take you to the website briefly.
Okay. That's helpful to know that you do have that capability of try before you buy, so to speak.
Yeah, so that account doesn't expire. So we have a lot of people that just kind of sign up and run it on 3 clients and just they do fine. The pricing is really reasonable. We priced it for any MSP at any size.
Okay.
This is the app right here. So it's pretty cool. It's really clean, really fast. So to do strategic planning here, it's basically like a replacement of a spreadsheet.
Okay.
So this is literally a carbon copy of our spreadsheet that we were running for like 8 years.
But now all the information's in a database. It auto-populates it, so you don't have to like play around with the spreadsheet for 3 days.
So like we don't have to type, right? We can use all these drop downs. And then we basically can say that, so they don't have a SAN. Let's just see the domain controller is proper. The file server 2008, for example, and we want to upgrade that this year. So it's just much faster than a spreadsheet. It's like lightning fast.
Okay.
And then every single time you fill it out, each quarter it saves a new version. And then you get to see, like this is what a filled out report looks like. And you're not going to get this day one. Like we do this during onboarding. We try to identify all the things people have. And then with one button, it also generates the PDF. So before, when we were doing spreadsheets, like if you want to send it to a client, you have to save as a PDF, which is a pain. And then you always notice that you forgot something. So then you have to go back to the Excel, update that, and then save that as a PDF again.
Yeah.
Right. So this way, you're able to just do it here. Very clean, very fast. And then the other cool thing we have is we have a dashboard. The dashboard allows you to forecast your revenue pre-opportunity. So
great.
One of the cool things that we've done now is we've stopped quoting things unless the clients sign off on the dashboard or sign off on their roadmap and the budget. Because the cost of sales engineering is ridiculously high, and to sales engineer and create quotes is really a really expensive process that a lot of MSPs are just not even tracking or not caring how much time they burn on it. So now we won't create an opportunity or won't quote anything unless it's real, right? It has to be real. And the client has to sign off on the budget. Because if you go into quote and they don't approve it, all that work is mostly wasted, because when they're ready for it in a year, it's going to be a completely different solution and your model is going to change and all this other stuff.
Yeah. So you basically say, hey, here's our roadmap with some rough numbers. Right. They sign off on it, and then once that time comes, then you can generate the quote. You know that they're on board to do it. You get the real numbers in there, and
so you put approximate budgets in here, and then and you just revise that quarterly, right? So like here we get these type of roadmaps. right? And it just says all the stuff that you're expecting for the year. And if they're not ready to move, let's say on their email encryption this year, you just punt it to next year and just change the date.
Okay.
Yep. So this is just like a nonstop project machine, and it's all stuff that the clients need, right? So this is not
Hmm.
sales. We're not selling them anything they don't need. Anything
Yeah.
on this list is something that they either closes a risk, like for compliance, like we do all of our HIPAA compliance in this, or it makes them more effective. It makes them more efficient and makes them stronger companies, right? So our entire like software stack here.
Okay. And now I noticed you're running this all through a browser,
Correct.
right? So it's all in the cloud and nothing to install, and you can use it. You can just any browser you can pull it up and do it, right?
Yep, and it works on, so it's mainly on Windows apps, so like on a Microsoft Surface, or we use these HP Elite like tablet books things. So they
Hmm.
have like a little hand strap, and the app works beautifully on that. Um,
Okay.
yeah, and it just, you can go during onboarding and fill it out as much as you can. Dashboard's really cool because you could see, for the first time, all your clients, like their server hosts. What is the health? How many are in danger?
Hmm.
How many are warning? Um, Firewalls, right? You can get to see your entire stack like you've never been able to see. Um, and then we have another cool report here is we used to do this in a spreadsheet too. How many times a year we want to meet with clients. So it's just like,
Okay.
this is just a demo account, but let's
Yeah.
say, for example, this client's yearly and this client is twice a year, this client's quarterly and this client's monthly. And then how
Hmm.
many times a year you actually met with them, and then quarter by quarter. So like, let's say Awesome Possum Financial, you were targeting for this vCIO 4 times a year, but you actually met with them only 3 times a year. You missed
Okay.
Q3.
Yeah.
So we've never been able to have this clarity and view in who we're engaged with and who we are not, right? Because you can't do this at a ConnectWise or any other PSA that I'm aware of.
Now, does it integrate in with any other systems? I'm
Not
just
yet. So we have a big
okay.
integration roadmap coming up.
Hmm.
Right now, just the import of the clients is a really simple spreadsheet, just a one-time
Okay.
import.
Yeah.
But we're going to be working on a ConnectWise integration first. Should be out before IT Nation this year, and I'm a speaker at IT Nation. Um,
Okay.
and yeah, there's going to be a ConnectWise integration, which will allow you to save some time. But the long-term vision of this whole thing is to really dramatically decrease the amount of time it takes to do strategic planning. Like our
Yeah.
mission officially is to make strategic planning easy.
Hmm.
So that's like our simple mission. So we're going to keep adding features and keep streamlining mainly like what our MSP needs. And then what our community tells us. I mean, we've gotten a pretty strong community of, a good chunk of top 500 guys. We're an
Hmm.
HGG company, so a chunk of
Yep.
HGG is using this.
Hmm.
Um, a, a, a chunk of top 100 guys are using this worldwide across every country. So, we have a good community of MSPs that are contributing to it, and we're just going to keep growing it over time.
Great. So, sounds like, from as an MSP, right, you had a process, like you said, that you started doing it on whiteboards, you moved to spreadsheets. Now you've created this software that you use yourselves, but now you're also saying, hey, this is valuable to other MSPs. So now you've essentially created a new business out of this need.
Yeah,
Um, so,
yeah. So
I think that's great.
yeah, it's definitely good diversification, but it's scratching our own itch.
Hmm.
And those are some of the best type of businesses out there, um, and it's not much different. It's a recurring revenue model, just like
Yep.
MSPs are. There's smart numbers there as well, and there's been a lot of trailblazing by some of the pioneers in the industry, the Chris Days of the world, and other
Hmm.
people that created their own apps. So
Yep.
it helps the community become stronger and better, just all around.
Awesome. So I'm trying to think, what did we miss? I think, the information you provided in terms of, why you need the strategy and the vCIO process is all great. Nice demo of the software. Did we miss anything?
I think just any MSP that doesn't have a process, I just want to repeat myself, they should have it as a quarterly goal and start it, right? Q2 is coming up, right?
Yes, it is.
So everyone should be doing their strategic planning at some point in the next week or two if they haven't already done it for their own businesses. And if they don't have a good process, and even if they have a process and it's not great, they should clearly outline goals for that kind of business unit in their company. Just the same way as they should have goals for the other business units, and just refine it. That's the only way to do it. Is you have to do it quarter over quarter. It's the only way to grow and solidify a process like this. We've tried.
Yeah, and it's
without that.
Yeah, but it's a rhythm, right?
It's a rhythm.
You have to get into.
You got it. Yeah. You got to get in the rhythm of improving the process, and you have to get in the rhythm of doing this with your clients. So like even like your template, we try to meet once a quarter. At this point, we've been doing it for so long that we typically will skip quarters, but we'll still meet like at least a couple times a year and look at our template, look at what we're doing, look at what we're asking, look at what we're trying to grade, and then just update it. You have to have rhythms. The only way this business works is you just have to have you're kind of spinning plates, right?
Yeah.
You need to be spinning like 10 different plates. But if you do it successfully, it's great for everyone. Yeah.
I agree. And again, if you're looking to grow your MSP, right, and you want to expand, then the more processes and things you can get in place, the more valuable, like you said, the more valuable you become to your clients, the more they grow, the more you grow. Everyone's happy.
Yeah, and definitely if you're a growing MSP, you have to get some kind of process in place before you start to scale up, because we started doing this like midway, like to try to make it consistent with every client, and it was a lot of work to catch up.
Yeah.
And then we have, we'll still bump into some MSPs that will have like 100 clients and they're barely doing any type of strategic planning process. Like some of the copier guys are coming from that a little bit, right? Because they weren't, they have all these accounts, their businesses started in the 50s, right? They're good people and they just have not been doing strategic planning with their clients, right? So they, and now the catch up and to try to standardize their stacks is a massive undertaking, because they've been selling different things over the years, and there's not like rhyme or reason. I mean, some rhyme and reason, but not like strategically thought out stack deployment.
Yeah. So Alex, thank you so much. This has been very insightful for me. I'm sure it's insightful for the attendees as well as anyone who's watching this on video replay. Strategyoverview.com is where you need to go to get more information on this. You can, like you said, you've got the pricing right there. You got all the features, all those types of things. And we'll have, I'll do a blog post on this with some relevant links in it as well. And wishing you all the best success in your strategy and your rhythm moving forward.
Yep. Thank you so much, Doug. It was great to be here, and thank you for the opportunity.
All right. Well, I hope to talk to you soon.
Yep. Great. Thank you. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.